Welcome to the Encore today. We're going to talk about Pilate, the man Pilate. Christ is getting ready to go to the cross, but there's so many things leading up to it in John chapter 19 that we will get to. But it is the Christmas season, Pastor Wesley, so we're going to have some fun Christmas stuff leading up for some lighthearted stuff, right?
Before. We'll do a little quiz.
Yeah.
Do it at home with us.
Yeah.
I thought you had a question.
I do have a question. I was thinking about this the other day. Christmas music, right? Mm-hmm. There are, I would say undeniably, Christmas classic songs.
Correct.
Why aren't there any new Christmas classics? At what point did somebody say, it's over, the book is shut, here's the 30 Christmas classic songs?
It's like the hymns. It's like hymns.
I don't get it.
It's a hymn book.
And then, so all of the artists or whatever today, they're just singing those songs.
I have a rebuttal.
Okay, great. I don't have the perfect answer, but I'm sitting here thinking, why can't there be a new Christmas classic? Go ahead.
I would propose to you that Mariah Carey's "All I Want for Christmas"
I was
is
actually
in the
thinking
canon.
that was the only thing.
I think it has been. Doesn't mean everyone has to like it. I understand that. I would propose to you that it has been accepted into the canon, and there are people that have to listen to it, or even I know people that love Christmas classics that like that song the best.
I'm with you there.
Song.
Mariah Carey somehow has the exception. It's a good song.
Well, the point is, it's hard to be a classic, whether it's a movie. You can do this with anything. To break into an iconic. Again, I'm overusing the word. An iconic canon of work, a body of work, whether it's a classic novel, a classic movie, or a classic song, Christmas or otherwise, you got to really have a lot happen. And it has to be around a long time and maintain a high level of appreciation to be like, okay, this is one of them now.
Right.
So with hymns, I would contend also that Michael W. Smith may have a couple now. There may be...
You would call Michael W. Smith songs hymns?
Well, no. So there are hymns, right? The hymn book. Well, what gets on that level? I think "Heart of Worship" by Michael W. Smith is close. I think I exalt thee in different things. Not necessarily Smith, but there are things that make it into that. But it has to be around a long time. It can't happen in 2 years. So that's why.
Yeah.
And I just think it's hard to be a classic. So when you grow up, you hear the established classics. Well, for something to become a classic in your life, you have to watch it happen over 20, 30 years. So you're only going to get a couple.
Okay.
I just made that up.
Wait, I mean, I'm buying it a little bit. The Mariah Carey thing, it's a thing, but it just seems like there would be a few more. Some of these songs are, I don't even know, 60, 70 years old probably, right?
At least.
At least.
Some of them at least, yeah.
I don't even know.
Again, I think it's very similar to church hymns.
It's weird, but we're still watching, when they're kids, Rudolph's claymation.
It's also the same thing.
I know. It's weird. And it's not very good. It's just classic.
I don't mind it.
Am I allowed to say that?
Well, no, of course it's not very good. And I think the reason you kind of think it is because it's classic.
Because it's a classic. Yeah,
I know. There's a lot of things like that, and you hate to admit it to yourself. There are movies like that are not Christmas, or songs that are not very good. You're like, well, I like it.
Yeah, I know. Fruitcake. All right. What do you got for me over there? You got some
all right,
questions?
Speaking of this leads into the next thing. I got a couple Christmas quiz things. Now, I'll repeat. Some of these will be repetitive as far as the movies we referenced last week, but they will not be the same questions. The movie is Christmas Story. What was the name of Ralphie's younger brother?
This one has gone out of my Rolodex. It's been so long gone. It didn't make it. Hold on. Oh, I almost had it.
Starts with the same letter.
And I'm going to hear it and go.
His name is Randy.
Randy, that's not it at all.
Randall.
It's not, okay.
Okay, same movie, Christmas Story. What is the secret message Ralphie deciphered from Little Orphan Annie radio show?
Drink more Ovaltine.
Be sure to drink your Ovaltine.
Yeah.
Okay, switching movies to Home Alone, your favorite.
Woohoo!
In which state was Home Alone filmed?
In which state? It's in Chicago, which is Illinois. But
you are correct.
Yeah,
that's the answer. There's no but.
Okay, okay.
Act like you know it.
Okay, I do know.
How many siblings does Kevin have?
Oh man,
Yeah.
see, he's got cousins.
Siblings.
I know. I think he has 4 siblings.
You are right. I
Yeah.
would have never gotten that one. Okay. You probably don't know Nightmare Before Christmas. It's pretty good. Okay, The Santa Claus, classic with Tim Allen.
Classic.
You did the toy salesman, the advertising executive.
Yeah.
What is the name of the elf, the head elf at the North Pole?
Judy? No, not Judy. It's it's like Barabbas or Barnabas.
Not Barabbas.
Hold on. It's
Give us Barabbas.
I know. It's like Is it It's
Bernard.
Bernard.
I'll give it to you.
You know the problem? So in the movie, Tim Allen calls him Barabbas and Barnaby because he can't get his name
can't get it right.
So
Okay.
it threw me off. All right,
Okay.
sorry. Yeah.
What is the first obstacle Scott faces in the first house he visits on Christmas Eve as Santa Claus?
No chimney?
A large dog.
Oh. Boo.
Okay. Moving on to the movie. Oh, no. Oh, I hit an ad, Scott.
You blew it.
What's worse? Okay, here we go. Come on. Get past it. Elf. You're familiar?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, classic. It's made it into the classics.
Okay, I agree. It has.
has.
What is the name of Buddy's half-brother?
Oh, no. I can see him. He's wearing a Jets jersey, this little kid. What's his name?
His name is Michael.
Oh, Michael.
Okay, let's see. What are the 4 main food groups for elves?
Uh-huh. Candy?
Mm-hmm.
Candy corns?
Correct.
Candy canes?
Correct.
And maple syrup?
Yes!
Oh, yeah!
Wow, Scott. National Lampoon's Vacation, you got it? Christmas Vacation?
20 years. It's been 20 years. I'll try. That's not in my Rolodex.
What is the name of Clark's boss? I'll even give it to... This has the first and last name. I'll even give it to you if you say his name is Mr.
No.
Frank Shirley.
Don't remember.
Mr. Shirley.
Don't
Okay.
recall it. Nope. Sorry.
What does Clark forget to bring when the family goes to cut down their own Christmas tree?
Chainsaw?
A saw.
Oh, okay.
This is... Instead of cash, what does Clark's boss give him as a Christmas bonus?
Candy canes? I don't know.
You realize you can't recommend this movie anymore.
I know.
There's some funny
It's been
stuff.
way too long since I've
This
seen
one's funny. Instead of cash, what does he give? A 1-year membership to the Jelly of the Month Club. I would have gotten that one.
That's
okay.
good.
That's enough.
Good. All right. Okay, we're going to go into John 19. There are some parallel verses in Matthew. I think it's kind of where I'm going to hang out a little bit. But
All right.
so one of the first things that you mentioned in there, which is very interesting, is this law that the Jews bring up that he was killed for.
Yes.
Because he was claiming to be deity, right?
Yes,
claiming
he was,
to be the Son of God.
Yeah, correct.
So, this is, I would say, one of those things that kind of get lost in or get forgotten or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm going to preface something. A lot of these questions are interesting because, I'm trying to talk in the moment, practical, and there's the obvious thing that Jesus was going to die, prophecy that he was going to die, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of these things had to lead up to it,
Yeah.
but there's so many human elements that come into it. Anyway, I don't really have a question with that. I just wanted to talk about that he was actually crucified for claiming to be the Son of God.
Yes, blasphemy.
Blasphemy.
That is the thing that finally landed.
Yeah.
It was not overthrowing the Caesar, political rebellion. They
Right.
tried other things.
Right.
Manufactured false witnesses. Oh, he was going to lead a rebellion, blah, blah, blah. He
Yeah.
told people not to pay their taxes,
Yeah.
and none of that stuck. But when they invoked their own law, yes.
Yeah. So if you get the trivia question this Christmas, why was Jesus crucified?
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing. But also some people would say, I know that there's arguments against Christianity. Well, he never even claimed to be God, which we've been in John for a few years.
Numerous.
Multiple times. Yeah, read through John.
No more. There is no more. There's no other gospel where he claims it more than in John,
Right.
Or is recorded.
Right.
It is multiple times. I mean, they pick up stones more than one time.
Yeah.
Because they're like, "Did you hear what he just said?"
Yeah.
Totally.
Yep. Okay, so we're going to go into this in Pilate's response to things. It says he wanted to satisfy the crowd. So the dude Pilate is just interesting all along. We talked
very interesting.
a little bit about him last week, but a little bit more today. So within this, what do you think from your studies is Pilate's motive behind satisfying the crowd?
Political longevity, self-preservation.
Okay.
He wants to make it out of this politically intact.
Yeah.
He doesn't want a black mark on his career. He doesn't want a bad report to the Caesar. He doesn't want people to say he's a bad governor.
Yeah. So I wanted to talk about this because, in some way it's very real for you and I as pastors.
Yeah.
Trying to satisfy the crowd.
I actually have great sympathy for Pilate to the point where I almost feel guilty about it. I'm like, well, I get what you're at. I get what you're at there, pal.
Yeah. So I want to be careful here. We love people. We love our churches, but there's sometimes we joke and be like, oh man, I'm a politician. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Around. Well, even the fact that we do love people is why sometimes you want to. Maybe you're in a meeting and you got to tell them about sin, but you don't want to because you just feel bad.
Oh, right. That's
I don't think he felt bad he felt bad for Jesus.
Yeah.
Pilate.
He probably did.
He loved himself. But sometimes there's many reasons you would satisfy the crowd. And sometimes it's because you like people and you're like, I don't want to hurt you with this one, but you have to.
Do you think he felt bad for his wife? And he was like, oh man, I'm going to hear about this later, but I got to do this because his crowd is standing here.
I think he's a regular human man, as you can see very much in this chapter. Yeah. So that had to be a factor.
Yeah. All right, let's share some personal stories.
About, Scott.
You don't have to go like specific, but like a weekly thing that you would deal with that you're going, like this is what I'm called to do. And there is a battle of trying to please people.
There is.
Right?
Continuous, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. And I don't know how you want to answer that, whether it's specific or in general.
I have planned to preach things. I see things in the Bible. It might call repentance to certain sins. I'm like, I'm going to say this week. I'm going to pray to the Lord. I'm going to study the Bible, and I'm going to say it. And I'm not going to apologize because it's a scary thing to say. I don't want to be mean about it, but I'm going to say it, and I'm not going to back off from it. And I'll say that all week. And then Sunday morning comes, and someone will come through the door that I know is battling through the very thing I'm going to talk about.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I don't want to say this anymore. Like it was so good in my office. And now I'm like, I'm going to say this to these people. And I do, but it's way harder than I thought. And sometimes I'll say it different.
Yeah,
I'm like, okay, add a little more love to this one. My goodness. Like these people are here of all days. They came today. And I'm going to talk about the very thing they're going through in their life. And sometimes it's a hard thing.
Yeah. And you know what, though, like you're talking about that, I think that's good to understand like the love part of it. And I want to be careful and care for these people, and it's close, but it is not the exact same of Galatians 1 that talks about, Paul says, am I seeking to please man or am I seeking to please Christ?
Yeah.
And so there is a balance sometimes where you're like, do I even say this thing at all?
Right.
Or do I want to,
right.
Well, I don't know, get this guy off my back sometimes or whatever. So,
or I know this is going to end it. I mean, the Lord could do it. This person's out after this. Like if I say this today, or if I say this in this appointment, I know that this is it, and that has proven true a few times that they've never.
Right.
That was it.
Right.
Never spoken to me again.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Yeah. No, I think that's good. Talking about that from the preaching side. There's also like just straight up our time. Our time and resources. Like, people ask. And I'll say this begrudgingly, people ask a lot of us, can you do this? Would you do this? And like, I don't know, I'm sure you've battled with this a lot. Like sometimes you have to sit down and go, sometimes I just simply can't, or it's not worth it at the expense of time away from my family or time preparing or whatever.
A greater calling to your responsibility. Yeah. Like there are things like if I have to do this is important. If I'm called to do this, if I'm called to go preach the gospel in this way, this thing dies on the altar of the other one. I say no to this and yes to this. It happens all the time. Yeah. And if you can't do that, you're not going to get anything done really well. Like you're not.
Absolutely.
It's just you have to. People have a problem saying no. It's hard.
Yeah.
I've gotten better at it.
Right. No, that's something that I have had to learn through ministry too. And it was for sure like the first years in ministry, you just say yes to everything and you feel like you're being spiritual about it. You're like, I'm doing God's work or whatever. But absolutely, you have to learn to say no. And regardless of full-time ministry or not. Everybody's got.
That's what I'm referring to. Your life.
Your life.
In your life. Yeah.
Yes. So it is a healthy thing to say no, but always good to kind of sit there and measure. Like, am I trying to please people, or am I trying to please the Lord?
Right.
In and of it. And some of that's super gray if it's a 5-minute meeting or something like that. Yep. But it does mean protecting what's true and being able to say things out of love within that. So, okay. All right. So, boy, we're going to get into some stuff here and some big questions of what Pilate does. Yeah. So he says that he washes his hands of this, and I know you use the analogy, understanding the Jews from Deuteronomy. That was cool to be able to.
I never knew that before.
I didn't know that when you said that.
I came across that, and I'm like, I never knew that.
So yeah, to me, like, we even say it now. It's just a kind of a term. Like, I wash my hands
of the thing.
Yeah, right.
And that's just where it comes from. I never knew that.
Very interesting to hear that.
I'm glad to hear that.
But dude, kind of a weird thing. It's I don't know if he's feels like he's innocent in his own heart by doing this, or if it's just a political matter to throw somebody else under the bus. But what ways do you see us, let's just talk about American Christians in our culture, do this? How do we wash our hands of certain things?
Got to confront somebody on sin. Got to put them in your path. Like, they're never going to listen to me, so you don't do it. You don't. It's not about that. If you were called to it, the Bible literally says in Ezekiel, you clean the blood from your hands in the positive. Pilate's doing it in a different kind of way that's not legitimate. But there is something to, you're clean because you have upheld your responsibility either as a Christian or a witness to a lost person to do, to say, to be what you were supposed to be when God called you to do it. Many times we don't do that. And what we wash our hands with to alleviate us of guilt, we think, is say, well, they never would have listened. They wouldn't listen anyway. I've tried before. They wouldn't listen. Well, I didn't have time, and I'm not real educated. I don't know enough about the Bible. I don't, there are other people that serve better than me, and you just give yourself a pass.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Yeah, on the positive side, I remember hearing a big mega name preacher do like his last sermon at his church, and he was like, "Hey, whatever you thought I said or didn't say in all these years, I have to come before you as my last sermon and be clean and say, this is what it's all about." And he laid out the gospel pretty sharp and just basically said, I might have steered you wrong at some point. I'm sure I did some things, and maybe you took my sermons for one. I like that. That was cool. So that was in a positive way going, I'm going to clean my hands and be like, this is what it's all about.
I feel like Paul said that when he went to Ephesus and he knew he'd never see those guys.
Yeah, I think he did.
He says, I think that's it. He says, "Therefore I testify to you this day, I am innocent of the blood of all men, for I did not shrink from declaring to you the whole purpose of God."
That's quite a declaration.
Pretty confident.
Yeah.
I said everything right here.
We're good here. We're good here. Sir. Yeah.
It's on you now.
Dude, that's funny. You know what, though? Like, we talk about confronting people and satisfying the crowd and things like that, too. This goes along because sometimes, you'll come home, or when I'll come home, Jessica will be like, "Hey, did you, how'd the meeting go, or how'd the sermon go?" And you're like, "You know what? I don't know how it was received, but I said what I felt like I said what I felt like I had to say." And it could have been, yes.
I think in dramatic terms, this, like, I think about my life in a very dramatic framework, meaning things like this. I try to preach every message, come into it going, okay, this is it. I'm going to be dead on Monday. If I'm dead on Monday.
That's definitely dramatic, yeah.
It's real dramatic. I think about it almost every week. More than every week, every time, because there's times throughout the week. If I'm dead on Monday, am I okay with what I just said? Like, is that, there's a scene in Walk the Line. You're familiar?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, good movie. Yeah.
He comes in with Johnny Cash. He comes in with his little band in the beginning before he ever makes it. And they're a gospel quartet or something, and they're terrible. And he comes into the Nashville studio or whatever, and he's trying to get a big break. And he comes before the music producer guy. You might know this scene. And the guy goes, "Okay, let me see what you got." And so they play some, howdy doody time gospel song. He saved my soul. And the producer, I love it. He goes, stop, just stop. He stops him in the middle of the song. He's like, is that all you guys got? And they're like, well, whatever. And he goes, that's your one song. And he says, you're telling me that if you get hit by a truck and you're dying in the ditch, and this is your one chance. And he says, before God and everyone, you stand before God and everyone, that's your one song that you're going to play that. And he makes fun of what they just did. And then Johnny Cash sings from a real song of the turmoil in his heart, and it compels the guy. I think about that with preaching. Like, is this your one song, dude? Like, are you really bringing it? Like, you're dead in a ditch the next day. Is that the sermon you wanted to preach, or was it some canned, or just step for step, scripted, boring nonsense that you don't even really believe deeply in your? I think about that all the time, and I think, good. All right, dude, step up and bring something, or go home. It's very dramatic, but I think about that.
Yeah.
And
you're dramatic. You're a dramatic person, but that's okay.
Yes. Everything is life or death.
It is. Yeah. It is.
That's true.
That's another conversation for next Encore, I think. All right. All right. We're gonna get into a tough question here. That if you've been in church for any long period of time, I would imagine you've heard this, dealt with it, and it is a massive question. So I'm going to read from Matthew 27. So this is parallel scripture of Matthew and John's gospel. Verse 24, from 27:24. When Pilate saw that he was gaining nothing, rather that a riot was beginning, he took water, washed his hands before the crowd, saying, I am innocent of this man's blood. See to yourself. We already talked about that. Verse 25 says, all the people answered, his blood be on us and on our children. You called it one of the most chilling passages in Scripture.
It's a shocking statement.
It is.
It's nuts.
It is nuts. But the big question that people would ask is, are the Jews cursed because of this statement? Right? They're saying basically, we'll take the punishment, whatever. We'll take
it's on us. Put it on us then.
And our families and all of that. So, yeah. Let me start with this part. Who actually is saying this? Who do you think is saying this? Because it couldn't be the entire nation of Israel together chanting this, right? Who's speaking up saying this?
I don't know. It has to be the chief priest leading it.
Yeah.
And I think the crowd was persuaded and probably joined in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, verse 27 says, now the chief priests and the elders persuaded the crowd to ask for Barabbas and destroy Jesus. So it seems like that was the beginning of it, where they're going, hey, we're gonna get him on this side.
Did.
So there was
they
probably
certainly did.
The leaders, all of that. So, okay, how do you deal with that? How would we answer that? Is the nation of Israel cursed because of this saying?
Let me start with this. Romans 11:1. God has not rejected his people, has he? It's talking about Israel right now. May it never be. For I too am an Israelite, a descendant of Abraham of the tribe of Benjamin. God has not rejected his people whom he foreknew. Or do you not know the scripture, what Elijah says in the passage, how he pleads with God against Israel, and he says, they've killed your prophets and all this stuff. The divine response, God says, I have kept for myself 7,000 men who have not bowed the knee to Baal. In the same way, then, there has also come to be at the present time a remnant according to God's gracious choice. So he has not wiped, no. Has he rejected Israel because of this? No. Is there something to it? As a nation, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, and I think with it there's, consequences and things like that. But, we were talking about this prior to and wondering how what angle we wanted to talk about this. And the idea that you and I, we're under the curse of sin.
And I think that's maybe the bigger conversation. Like, so you can take that because woe, that statement, and woe, if you look closely at the Jewish people in the history of Israel over the last 2,000 years, it's not very good.
Yeah.
It's uniquely not very good. So does it trace to that? I don't know. Are there curses as a result of things? Mm-hmm. It can almost sound witchcrafty, but the Bible uses the word curse.
Right.
And the pagans have hijacked it and made it something of darkness. And that's true in a certain way too.
Yeah.
But God renders verdicts on people and nations for all of history, for things. And that's worldwide. So I think that's what you're getting at.
Yeah,
Not to cut you off, but... it's really hard because you got to be careful because you're sitting in the seat of God to say things. Yeah. Look, man, there have been times they have rejected the Lord for idols, and God rendered a verdict, and enemy nations came in and wiped them out. Yeah. And God was behind it. Yeah. Because of their sin. Yes, that has happened, and I think something with the treatment of Jesus has also come about. That being said, all of them can still come to Christ. Yeah. And the Bible literally says there will be no more curse. The curse of sin is broken. So we were saying earlier, we were talking about this, maybe you could carefully wonder, as any individual, no, because Christ can break it for anyone. As a nation, any people, is there a cloud over certain ones, and even us as well? Right. I think yes. Right. I think so. I think I think families, we talk about, there are certain families where there is a certain curse of sin on that family where certain things keep happening the same way.
Generation.
I mean, we don't. I mean, if we want to talk about a national family that's well known, we can talk about the Kennedy family. Okay, that's not normal, dude. Yeah. It's not normal. But on a smaller sense, somebody watching, your family, divorce and addiction and sexual sin and adultery and alcoholism. Dude, like, yes. And then Christ will save one person out of there, make him a new creation, and a brand new legacy of gospel spirituality starts, and the curse is broken.
Yeah.
So I think, yes, I kind of do. But there's hope within it for any one person and all of them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good way to say it. I think that
it's a huge conversation. First of all, there's so many things. There's places we can go in the Bible, but whoa.
And we could talk about this for hours. But I think the biggest thing to take out of it though is there is a way to overcome it, and it's Christ. Like to be able to come through that. So whatever curse or whatever you'd call it that we're under, the curse of sin. Like there's going to be struggle and pain and disease and all of those things. That's in the Bible, but there is a way to overcome that. But even like on this earth for the rest of our earthly days, like we're going to see that struggle.
Yes.
So yes, I'm with you. Like there's been pain and things with the Israelites. But you could say a lot for our country too. And I don't know.
And the story ain't over yet.
Right.
And we may live to see like what we have asked for this. Yeah. We have dared God, and God has shown up, and here we are. Yeah. And anyone can be saved out of that in Jesus. But as a people, as a nation, things do happen from the hand of God. That's a real thing.
Yeah, wow. Oh, man, I got like a 1 minute left. What's something that hit the cutting board this week? Something you could have preached on a little bit more from here?
I could have gone deeper on who Pilate is and the reason. I alluded to it. I couldn't not allude to it. That he had, history will say, a very reputable historical resources will say that are not the Bible. They will say that Pilate was under a lot of more pressure than we realize just in the scriptural account, because he had been reprimanded before because the Israelites had complained to Rome, and Rome had responded in favor of the Jews, that Pilate had handled himself poorly, and he had to reverse course, which is why you can see some of that behind their statements. Any man who makes himself out to be a king is no friend of Caesar. Yeah, and they're saying, we'll tell on you again. I would have liked to have broken down a lot of details, but it was just historical nerddom, and I didn't do that.
I get it. Awesome. Well, hey, if you have a Christmas classic, maybe in the last 20 or 30 years that has made it in, let's hear those. You can send those our way. I don't know, other than Mariah Carey's All I Want for, what's it called? All I Want for Christmas?
All I Want for Christmas.
Yeah, it's in there.
We don't have time, but I feel like I could think of another one.
We're going to think of it, but send them in if you have them. But as always, don't take our word for it. Be in his, and we'll see you next time on the Encore.